All right, so these are the leftovers where I read the jokes that we didn't use this week, and as always, it's my first time reading them. So if they suck, we'll skin Joe Mackey, roll him around in maple syrup, and feed him to the fire ants. Boy, look how white I am compared to my makeup.
Been white a long time, boss.
I know. So this week, the TSA had to remind us that peanut butter is a liquid. And also that Joe Biden can't fly commercial because he always has more than 3 ounces of liquid in his pants. You're disgusting. He's still our president. This fall, Chris Christie will teach a class at Yale on how to run a political campaign. He'll be grading on a huge curve because he corrects his papers in bed. See? In a Missouri national park, it turns out that an injured bald eagle was actually just too fat to fly. That's the same reason they gave The View when they wanted to do a show in Hawaii. You people. A 66-year-old man fired for peeing in a Times Square hotel lobby is suing for over $1 million, claiming he suffers from a chronic medical condition that causes him to urinate frequently. Yeah, it's called being 66. A man with the world's largest penis revealed the way it's made his life difficult. We'd show it to you right now, but I'm busy. All right, you got that joke. And it is a joke. President Biden is on his second straight week of vacation. He would get more rest if not for the local kids who keep poking him with a stick to see if he's alive. Stephen King mocked Elon Musk on X after one of Musk's rocket launches was delayed. But King should stick to what he does best, scaring people with his face. Some people dispute the claim that Kamala Harris worked at McDonald's in the past. Meanwhile, McDonald's claims their records show just one clown working there. Philadelphia police suspect a couple was getting busy and accidentally hit the gear shift of their car, sending it into a river. I know, sounds unbelievable. Having sex with a person from Philadelphia. The Burning Man Festival drew a massive crowd with an orgy dome. Many people don't know why they went, but something definitely came over them. No apologies. Anthony Fauci was hospitalized this month with the West Nile virus. The doctor recommended he lie in bed as opposed to his usual lying standing up. Good end there, kids. Finally, police in a suburban New York County have made their first arrest under a new law banning face masks. After the arrest, police begged the person to put it back on. All right. Let's talk about the stuff. So last night's interview was a controlled burn. The goal, limit the damage to a small area in order to prevent a larger inferno that would engulf the entire candidacy. For it to work, the conditions had to be right. You had to pick the right host, the setting, the length of time, the chaperone, and the questions. And the obvious one to avoid was her role in covering Joe's mental unfitness. Remember, she insisted President Biden was extraordinarily strong.
You insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart.
So smart. So smart he had to drop out of the race. But what if she's telling the truth that to her, Joe seems smart? That would mean she's a drooling idiot. And Bash just shrugs. But if she did anything else, she'd make Kamala look bad, and we know that that helps Trump. And what do you do when asked about the obvious coup against Biden? You do what any seasoned hack does, turn it into a family moment. Did it happen on a Sunday?
It was a Sunday, so here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, and we had just had pancakes and, you know, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes."
At least the kid got more bacon. I was on the edge of my seat about that bacon. Whew. Since when does Kamala give us two information? She gives us no information. And when Bash hit Kamala on her ever-changing positions, Kamala insisted she hasn't. Spoiler alert, she has.
In 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed.
Well, that was clear. So 2019, she says there's no question she'd ban fracking. Now she says she won't ban fracking, but then she says her position hasn't changed. So what did? Did the definition of fracking change to not fracking? Because then everything she said makes sense. It's classic Kamala, a pile of platitudes sewn together like John Wayne Bobbitt's penis. Yeah. R.I.P., I think. Google it. Listen to this sentence.
I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
Deadlines? Deadlines around time. You know, as opposed to deadlines that aren't based on time. But what is the significance of the passage of time?
The significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. There is such great significance to the passage of time.
I mean, true. I mean, what is the significance of the passage of time when you can make an 18-minute interview seem like an eternity? Now, the media calls this race a race to the middle. Say whatever you need to say to come off as a moderate because people appreciate the norm, which raises the obvious question. Why do you push left-wing ideology when come election time, people tell you that it's not what they want? And why is it you can only push your left-wing aims when no one's looking? What's that say? Your positions suck. And you're not being true to voters when finally they're looking right at you, which is a bad time to forget the name of the Supreme Court.
He even called for termination of the United States Supreme, the supreme land of our nation, the United States Constitution.
Well, it's nice to see she'll continue where Joe left off. Jim, you have been following politics for decades.
Very closely, yes.
Very closely. Have you seen a race quite like this? And I don't mean Kamala's race. I mean just the political race.
Well, I mean, I find her kind of entertaining. Like, we've all forgotten the Supreme Court. I called him Soupco. It's just a little bit easier to remember. I knew that would bomb, but I did it anyway because I'm stupid. I wrote it down, and I'm like, nope, don't say it. And I said it.
Story of my life.
But we can't, like, I don't mind when someone changes positions, and as long as they're going to stick to it, because we always complain that they dig in on something and they don't change. But her answer should have just been when they said, why have you changed your opinion on fracking? Because I realized more people thought my position was wrong, and so I adjust. Like, I don't need you to have integrity, just do what people want you to do.
Exactly. I have changed my position on a lot of things, and you just say, oh, I think I was wrong.
Yeah.
That's all you got to say, and then people go, wow. Why are politicians told not to say they think they're wrong on something?
Probably because we punish them for it.
Yeah.
Like, if you admit that you're wrong about something, people don't just go, wow, that was honest. We just try to kill you for it. You know, she's very irritating, and it's fun to watch her talk about righting the ship when she's vice president for the guy who sank it.
Yeah. Joey, I'm inclined to ask you about Waltz because, both of you are military heroes. Though, I hesitate using your name and his in the same sentence because he did so much more, Joey. But
well, to hear him tell it.
Yes, exactly.
He did a lot more.
But he didn't do anything there. He reminded me of when you see on 60 Minutes when they have like the head of a corporation and his lawyer. And the lawyer's off on the side, and the lawyer's just looking like this at his client while like being interviewed. He was just there in case, she got sick or something.
All he did was, I think he was there to make her look better.
Yeah.
She has a likability problem and kind of always has. Mm-hmm. And so they bring him in there, and he's running this line about being coach and Midwesterner. But think about what he said. He said that I don't use good grammar. That was his,
yes.
Because people in the Midwest are known as someone from Georgia, let me tell you. I sat there and I went, ain't no way he just said he was in combat, did he? That's bad grammar. And I know that. What he is he's a damn liar. Mm-hmm. And you can't admit that on TV.
He didn't really directly answer the whole DWI thing either. He kind of just skirted past that. He's talked about his kid and his dog.
Well, and Bash offered it up on a silver plate. She coupled a couple of things together so he could pivot and go somewhere else. If you watch the whole thing, she led them to their answers when she asked the hard question.
And Kat, she didn't do exactly what you predicted they wouldn't do. No follow-up question. Not even a, what did you mean by that?
I know. She did do one where she asked her, what would you do on day one? And she asked her that again.
Right.
That was, again, not exactly the level of combativeness she had when she was talking to J.D. Vance, but something. But I'm also disturbed that Kamala doesn't seem to know what TMI is.
Yeah.
Like, in my experience... Because in my experience, TMI, if someone says, sorry, TMI, they're either talking about sexual behavior or poop.
Yes.
Or like other bodily fluids. So I was like, where's the TMI if the kids all themselves from the bacon?
That's TMI.
We know
That's TMI. But like I was with some kids that wanted pancakes and bacon is not TMI. Nobody threw up?
Yeah, that is ridiculous. I mean, what would be TMI? I mean, my goodness. I mean...
Oh, TMI, I had breakfast today.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry for the TMI.
Well, Kat wrote a whole book on TMI.
Exactly.
She's an expert.
I'm the queen of TMI. It doesn't
Chapter
exist for
5.
me, I'll tell you.
Yes.
I got more TMI coming in the next one, too, believe me.
I would love to see a conversation between Kamala and you. And she goes, TMI, I had pancakes. And you go, TMI, I had a colostomy.
Yeah. Ileostomy, but yeah.
Ileostomy, excuse me.
Yes.
I get confused between colostomy and ileostomy.
I could explain to you, but that would be TMI.
That's what we got after waiting 30 days.
No, that's. I think I said it best. I think we've seen and heard enough.
Yeah.
You
I like
can't
that
even
you
tell.
quoted yourself.
Yeah.
I think I've said it best.
Yeah, I did. No one else is gonna touch that. When you lie about breakfast, okay? Okay, there were pancakes. I was making pancakes, and then they asked for bacon, and then we played a puzzle.
Yeah.
What kitchen table do you have? Okay? Nobody. Of all the foods in the world, when it's pancakes and syrup, you don't have pen and paper and puzzles next to it.
That is so
Okay?
true. And
It's
bacon
not,
grease.
It's not TMI, it's LMI, lying much information. That's what that is. It's so bad that when you have to say when someone, and it was multiple choice questions.
Right.
There was like, it was like they were playing Goosebumps where she was telling him, pick door A. Don't go behind B, you could die. So it was just one of the worst interviews I've ever, shame on her. But this is CNN, and it's sad that you can go in a place that you know is gonna comfort you and edit it 25 times and take, like they should have said to her, you have one job, you can't this up. And when she came back through, they'll be like, you this up.
I think we can move on. All right. Well, let's do something else. Trump says Joe's become a sleepy beach bum.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.